Are we on air? Hey, Julianus. Isn't that the most annoying thing? You didn't get a notification, and yet I tagged your handle into the title. I tried to double down, and still nothing. Incredible. Hey, everybody. Who's here? Already 8 likes. Ah, love you guys. Thank you so, so much. I can see that there's 5 people in here, so if you're around, come in, say hi. Please, yes. You are kidding me. Just now, Winterland Orchids. Hi! Waving from the patio, jumping up and down. Just now, do you know that in my other control device, I only today got the notification for the Kyoguchi Happy Field? The shorts. Today. Incredible. Incredible. Right. So, but those are all parts and signals of a shadow ban. That's been happening with my channel since it started. Not because of any recent violations, but from jump. But you're here. Let's just say the most important people are in the live stream, and then the most important people will be on the replay if they so wish. And today we're going to be talking about Lycaste. And yes, she is in gorgeous, gorgeous bloom. Still, and we're still going to repot her. I'm not saying that that's something that you should do. You don't have to, but I'm going to because it was a request from an Orchid Ninja about Lycastes. Well, not really a request. It was more like, what is going on with mine the Orchid Ninja Julian San's Lycaste. So I thought, you know what? Mine needs repotting anyway. Let's do it in a stream. All channels. Well, I'm so glad it's all channels because honestly, look, if you can't beat them, you just join them. Anyway, I'm glad some other people are in my world, so let me pick you up. I just saw Michael McCarthy. See, something went wrong. Tap to try again. Here we are. Hey! It's good to see you. Well, it's incredible. I don't understand. And even in this case, Janina Carlona, welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon from sunny southern Spain. Even I tagged Julian S's handle, and YouTube says that that is the way to communicate, the best way, the most direct way to communicate with your people, whoever you want to draw attention to, whatever you're trying to say. Y todavía nada. Anyway, so what we're going to do is repot my Lycaste NoID. Cute little story for those of you who don't know. I ordered a Signochus Wine Delight back in the day. Seeing as I was getting so many orchids in, I couldn't be bothered with some of the, claims, so to speak, because clearly when this one arrived, I was like, Signochus? I don't think so. So here you can see the sunburn I mentioned in the last live stream. That's the only reason this bulb is looking the way it is. I burnt it because I like to push my orchids. I want to know the limitations. This is not how I recommend everybody do it because obviously it's not my intention to see how quickly or how slowly it will take for an orchid to burn. Well, I got to it too late. So that's the damage. But since then, it has recovered. It took a very, very long time. So keep that in mind, Julian. Yes, and Ciliano's in his jungle gym. He decided to join us today. Sorry if that hurts any headphones. When you look at yours, it's pretty big from what I can imagine, considering the blooms that you told me about. So I only got a little growth. Then I got another little growth. And then, of course, it showed itself for what it can do, what it is capable of with this bulb right here. And that's when the first time it bloomed. And that was 2 years ago, I think. I don't think she bloomed for me last year. Anyway, moving on to that. Now we've got 2 blooms, which is more than I've ever had. They are super long lasting. That's why I personally am not going to wait, because the repot time for a Lycaste is pretty similar. Let's just say you can do it sooner than any Catasetinae, but when the new growth starts. So there are some similarities with Lycaste. I want to talk to you about that, but I would like to get to repotting first for everybody who wants to just be here for the repot, and then we can talk about any questions I see coming up on chat if I pay attention and can, make my eyes go like a chameleon, one to the left, one to the right, or we'll do all the care and discussion afterwards. My intention, of course, is to keep the blooms and then see how long they last and hold on through a repot. Because quite honestly, with an orchid like this, a repot shouldn't affect any kind of blooms at all because we've got all the storage organs in the back and we're not intending to chop off all the roots. But you never know. It's a stressful situation for an orchid. So we shall see. It's the first time I'm repotting my Lycaste while she is in bloom. It's probably the first time I'm ever repotting her. Nope, I repotted her before. So she's had a good soaking in fertilizer water. Let's check and see what the roots look like right out of the gate. You see, they're very spindly. They almost give me a vibe of an oncidium root, which is very interesting, considering that this orchid has two different kinds of varieties. You've got the deciduous variety, which I have, and you've got the evergreen variety, which is phenomenal as well. And they get huge, of course. They're more cumbersome if they are the evergreen variety. And the evergreen variety also needs a little different care. Sorry, that's my chair, that's not me. Okay, before I get my hands all grubby, let me make sure that I've got everything caught up here. Future Mark Inc., it's good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Fabulous. Now, the pot, there's a bit of give in it, which usually is the case. When it's a chunky root system, I can determine whether she's pot bound much better because the pot would be rock hard. With a fine root system, usually there's always a little bit of give. To my understanding, Lycastes are not the kind that dump their roots. It is possible that they do, especially when it comes to the winter. If the ones that are deciduous, careful also with the above pseudobulbs right here, they're pokey. If they're deciduous, then we keep the root system dry. Not completely dry, every once in a while, a little bit of water, little trickle, pretend you're the dew on occasions, but that is in a wet-dry cycle. Some details that I will discuss further as we go in. So I'm expecting like half and half. I can feel that the back clearly has no roots, but I'm not going to be yanking on the orchid either, even though new roots are imminent with the new growth coming. And that's the thing, you see. I'm always the way like, I prefer to start repotting straight away on some occasions, and even if the orchid is in bloom. And in this case, it's okay because of the new roots coming. With some dendrobiums, I know exactly how tall the new growth has to be before new roots start. Oh, I even adhere to the high watering needs of this orchid. She has ceramus mixed in with the Leca. Oh, the joy of cleaning up this to get it ready for recycling. So yeah, eventually the new roots are coming, and my personal preference is to get in there just before they start, because that way I won't be cross with myself if I bruise them. The Panarica last week, she's doing well, but the new roots that we saw coming, yeah, you can kind of see that they're like, what did you do? I was growing so well. So there's not that much progress on those new roots. They're not in the pot yet. And this is what I was looking for, because I do remember them being a little bit hairy and fuzzy, like slipper orchids roots. So my memory bank wasn't that off, because when I saw this, I was like, oncidium-like? That doesn't seem, I don't know, it just didn't ring a bell. Nope, slipper-like. Let's confirm that. Fuzzy. Because I was thinking also the last time, I was thinking, hey, she has terrestrial vibes on the root system. Not that you should ever pot a Lycaste up in anything that is for a terrestrial orchid, they like to have fast draining good media, but if you're going with organic media, you want it to be like seedling bark, medium-sized bark to seedling bark, something that retains a lot of water because they are thirsty. So it's not to say that she's like a Lycaste. However, the sensitivity of the leaves for the deciduous ones and the evergreen ones, they are very, very similar. Super sensitive leaves. So that part is what reminds me of the Lycaste. And we've just popped a bloom. Oh, that's a shame. Well, Hakuna Matata, collateral damage. Let's put you in there. And see if we can do something about the other bloom, because I really want to know how after the repot the blooms would stay. That was the older bloom. This is the fresher bloom. So I was just starting to say before I pop the bloom off, my only resistance that I can feel are the microfibers holding on to the root system, which is a good sign. Kind of like. I know, right? Future Mark Inc. Hakuna Matata. My ambition to save the bloom was to also be able to verify how long they would survive after a repot, because they are super long lasting. If you want to repot a Lycaste and think, no, I'm going to wait until the blooms fade, you could be waiting 8 to 10 weeks. And by that time, your root system is already well underway. So you kind of have to make the decision. And for that reason, I wanted to salvage. So we'll be super careful with the second bloom. Mine is not fragrant. I do believe there are fragrant Lycastes out there. But when it comes to hybrids, for example, Michael tried to identify this one for me, but we're not 100% sure. Michael is my collection identifier. That's why I call him Jefe. But, oh, she's in 2 pieces. Oh, I don't have to worry about that then, do I? So we have a back piece. That was unexpected, but interesting. Interesting, nonetheless. Because I may have to get another pot, because of course we are going to be potting those up and see if we can propagate that. So there's a little bit of too much damp there at some point. I don't feel that these bits were ever connected. There doesn't seem to be a rhizome that rotted out. Okay, let's keep going. From what I can tell, no new roots yet. Now, this brings me to the subject of propagation. You never want to propagate a Lycaste with less than 2 bulbs. It's not like a cymbidium or something like that. You want a minimum of 2 bulbs to propagate, and thankfully that's what we've got. Lucky break, pun intended. Hang on a second. Julie-san, I can see you out of the corner of my eye. Hi. Good evening, Australia. I saw a notification for your video. You are gobsmacked. I see blue. I haven't watched it yet, but I would like to say congratulations, because if I'm guessing rightly, oops, you've done it again, girl. Okay, so all we've got is 1 microfiber holding us back. There we go. Now that my catch tray is nice and messy, I'm going to pour all this out and use this pot, which is 18 centimeters, as my garbage catch. Let's see. All right, what I'm going to do now is get a little bit jiggly with you guys. Not jiggy. We're not going to get jiggy with it, but I'm going to bring you down, okay? So if anybody gets dizzy, I'll tell you when we're all set up for the next shot, because I will be moving the tripod. There'll be movement back and forth. So let's get you in a little bit closer. Come a little bit closer, my dear. Here we go. The tripod is steady now. Here we go. And as I talk, if I get distracted or something, please let me get back to what I was talking about if I lose my train of thought, okay? So I can circle back to my thought if you found that actually interesting and wanted me to finish the thought. So here we are, just making sure now that I don't have water around. Yes, King, I know, I love you too. You're gonna have to settle just for a teeny tiny, maybe 2 hours, I don't know, for however long it takes, okay? Go lie in the sun, it's nice. Make sure that you are in shot where I can move and where I can't move. Okay. I won't be using Ceramus today. It won't be necessary because I've got lots and lots of small lava rock. Leca. You can tell I've got lava rock on my mind. What I can tell from my previous potting up is I used a mix of large and small Leca. And we won't be doing that. So there's no need to go large, small and add Ceramus. Small Leca is going to do the trick for us. And you can see, at least I hope, that's not the root from the new growth. A single root? No, it cannot be. I hope you can see that. But we don't have any new root growth starting just yet, which is good. Now I keep moving, and I keep moving away from the initial little grid I made myself here. So let's get out the microfiber here. Yes, I'm going to plant the back bulbs. I am. A bit undecisive. I was not prepared for a second pot. We'll see. We'll do it maybe in this video or in this video, on this stream. It would just mean I have to go out and get another pot, get more microfiber. But if I don't pot them up in the stream, I'm going to pot them up same as I'm going to pot this one up. Small Leca, not lava rock, small Leca, and a smaller pot, of course. And then we'll just see what happens. I don't see a break, but that doesn't mean there wasn't one and it just rotted out. I'm sure we'll get something akin to this growth right here. Something scrawny. Hello. No, you are gone. You're gone. You went bye-bye a long time ago. Okay. Amina Zamaikina in the house. It's good to see you. Hi. Okay. I'm going to address something here, and I'm going to put it on a community post, which I have as yet to do. Been kind of busy. I've been kind of busy fulfilling a request, which took me away from the patio yesterday. Thank you again so much, Michael. Thank you. And if Rare Roots of Joy, Joyous Orchids sees this, watches on a replay, thank you once again to you as well. So Amina Zamaikina, Canada, Canada, oh Canada. I shall also put this on a community post. If you would like to contact me at my email, ninjaorchids@gmail.com, always in my description, I've got my email address there. Please get in touch with me if you want to swap or sell orchids, etc. with Amina Zamaikina, who is in Canada. She contacted me and sent me a list of things, but I'm not going to, I already said to Amina, I'm not going to do the list thing. I don't want to get it wrong. But I have her permission to then forward your email to her so that y'all can talk and swap or sell plants together amongst each other. And I believe that is for Canada only. Correct me now that you're here in the chat, Amina, if that also applies to the US of A. Happy Mother's Day to you as well, Amina. Thank you very much. I had a great Mother's Day. I've got a little something on the doorstep, and nobody wants to claim. I gotta go get it. Sorry guys, I'll be right back. If you hear any kind of funny audio, it's me probably going out of range with a mic. For everybody that is so sweet, so kind to spend part of their Mother's Day with me here. Look at this. Can you see her? Look at this. In a little tiny, King, please. In a little tiny, tiny plastic pot. And she was at my doorstep when I came home from walking the dogs this morning. Can you believe it? Just like that, boom, at the door. And she is fragrant. She's Aurora 4.0. Same fragrance, different color blooms. This tiny little thing, someone just plunked there. I have no card. I don't know what. I don't know who. She came from Agrojardin. I know she did. I know their stickers. And I know that they are the only ones that sell these tiny cuties where I bought mine. Oh, and her fragrance is divine. Absolutely divine. So, yeah, happy Mother's Day. And it's not even Mother's Day in Spain, so I have no idea. So, okay. So anyway, back to where we were. Isn't that the cutest ever? I'm like, I know that it was meant for me. This orchid was meant for me. There's nobody else that I know in this little area that I live in that does what I do. So sweet. I don't know. Maybe one day the person will identify themselves. And if they don't, it's the thought that counts, and I'm ever, ever so grateful. She is so adorable. And I was like, with the dogs, I was like, oh, I've got King who gets all excited when he's bouncing up into the porch there. And I'm like, no, stop. Could just see him going there and just having a sniff. She'll fall over and do something. Anyway. Yeah, CITES. Well, that's the thing, Julian S. I was thinking, America, Canada, I'm not so familiar. I haven't heard that the shipping between the two countries they're on the same continent, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, back to that. Amina Zamaikina. If you're from Canada, if you listen to this on replay, send me an email. It's in the description of every video, my email address, and I'll put you in touch with her, and y'all can go happy days swapping and doing whatever with orchids. So there's that. And yes, I don't understand why the world has two different Mother's Days. I don't even know if Mother's Day has already passed in southern Spain. I'm so oblivious to these kinds of things. But I do remember it is today elsewhere but then whoever gave that little orchid to me and put it there must know that I have sort of maybe a history with the USA and took that into consideration. I don't know. I'm not going to question it. It's just like, oh, I get goosebumps just thinking about things like that. I remember that's what I used to do in the past. All my staff on Valentine's Day, early in the morning, if I knew where they lived. If I didn't, they had it on their desk, all of them got a single rose, and nobody knew where that came from. Men, women, don't care. They all got a single rose until I left the company, and then the roses stopped. And then they said, maybe, just maybe. And I said, yep, that was me, but it wasn't important for anybody to know that at the time. So sweet. So sweet. Love it. Anyway, back to Lycaste. I'm sorry, I couldn't talk about it and then not show you or just do a community post. So we've got some rot. Now what I can see here, the root system, the old root system, would be intact the next bulb down. So the most recent bulb to the new growth, that root system stays alive. The other one, in my case, is history. That could be culture or that could be normal. So the jury is out about that from my experience. Maybe somebody in the comments knows. Anna Reiter. Woohoo! Schön, dass du da bist. Es freut mich sehr. Okay, so if anybody in the chat knows the viability of Lycaste root system based on the age of the bulbs that they are attached to, would be awesome. And if you are watching in replay and you know the answer, would be awesome if you added that also into the comments. Because after all, you know what, when I scheduled this live stream, or when I said I was going to do it this Saturday last week, I didn't even think of Mother's Day. So I kind of barged into people. But you know what? Those of you who can make it, thank you once again for being here. But you can see, maybe not at the moment, but you can maybe tell there is a difference between the root systems from one bulb to the next. Not to say that, nope, they're gone. I was going to say that it looks like the lower part of this root system that looks decimated and dead is still alive, but nope. Sayonara. Into the bin. But yeah, okay, so Julian said that he thought it was a new growth coming, a second new growth, but a couple of months later you've got another bud coming, which I also think is awesome. Just wonder, Julian, how long did your blooms last on the first blooming, if you are still here? Okay, thank you for that. Also about the shipping, Julian son. I appreciate that. Okay, let's put her. See, pretty. Ooh, careful. I thought this one was a bloom. I thought this one was coming out as a bloom. I thought I was getting 3, and then it turned into the growth that it is now. So I'm going to continue with this a little bit more because we're going to bump up the pot. Sorry about any of the rumblings in the background on a beautiful, quiet Sunday afternoon. Tomorrow is a holiday here as well, so that's not so bad. But it is quieter on a Sunday than it is when I did a live stream once, I think on a Wednesday. So what I'm going to do here now is just trim, even though they're viable, I'm trimming the roots that are kind of long and gangly. You can tell it's a branching root system, so that works in our favor. And then let's just check the base. 7 weeks. Yep. That's a long time to wait for a blooming to finish if you think your orchid needs a repot. In my books, roots, once they start growing, they pretty much grow very, very quickly, and there's a small window of opportunity. But if you're less clumsy than I am, then you will also know that you won't be damaging any roots. So I guess it's a preference. Okay, this is where we could have had potential rot right here. And it's going to get pretty gross. You see all that? Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. That's not good at all. That is a sign it's far too wet at the base, so she probably was attached. And this is where an issue could have started. And boy, oh boy, does that bring me to amount of air circulation that these orchids love. They love a lot of it because of their very thin leaves. They like to have high humidity. No, it's not that high, 40 to 70%. But because of the amount of water that they enjoy, if there's any wicking up the base, you can see what happened with mine. So she's going to be staying outside during the night tonight. Because the lowest temperature that the deciduous Lycastes can handle is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me check my notes. Crane my neck. That's 10 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I got notes behind me because I don't want to be fumbling with the temperature and the conversion. And we are way above that temperature now at night. Meanwhile, I still need my jacket when I'm at my desk, but still completely different compared to what it was. Totally different. All right, watch the blooms. Okay, now let's get you covered up here. All right, let's just cover you up because we're going to be cleaning out the center bit and see how much we can take out of that gunky part and also from my underneath my nails. I'm sorry if I'm reaching over you if you see anything that isn't visually appealing. Sorry about that. Okay, let me get my beautiful little Mother's Day gift out of the way. I don't want to put anything in her crown because she's not ready to be outside. It's not that warm for the likes of her. And then let's have a look-see about cleaning out the base. You can also see that over fertilizing, it wicks up the bulb. That's also no bueno. We don't want that. Speaking of fertilizing, like with Catasetinae, super hungry orchids when they are in active growth. And be it deciduous or evergreen, whereas the evergreen, you also always want to maintain a little bit more fertilizer, of course, because the orchid doesn't dump its leaves. But during the growing phase, up the ante exponentially. Now, seeing as I thought I had a bigger orchid, I thought I was going to go to 400 parts per million for this orchid this year. Seeing as she's bigger, I'm going to stick with 300 parts per million now that I have a smaller one. And now I'm thinking, you see my pot before was 18 centimeters. I'm going up to 20 because I thought I had one orchid. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to stick with that pot size. I'm going to pot her up in the middle of the pot, no matter. Now, another thing with the leaves, seeing as they are super delicate, their plan and the best practice is not to get water on them. Do not get water in and around the new growths. Everything I'm doing here obviously is like, okay, so what? Well, it can induce rot. But again, we are breezy enough outside. We should be okay. But if this new growth rots out, that will be the reason. It'll be the water in the new growth, that is going to make that rot out. And water on the leaves is going to create spotting. So be super duper careful when you repot your Lycaste that you protect your new growth. And if you are like me, that you do play with water a lot during repots, then make sure that the orchid has enough of a place where there's enough airflow. And if you must, for that period of time, drop your humidity, do that. Do that. Get that growth as dry as fast as possible. Okay, let me do a little switcheroo here with my tray. Climb over all my buckets that I have and get my other tray. Oh my goodness, this table is now not big enough. I've got the cork pieces that I have as yet to allocate orchids to out on this table still because, well, I want them to bake. And funny enough, a couple of days ago, it was getting really nice and hot, and I thought, whoa, this is awesome. It is way too soon for these temperatures. Yeah, well, that didn't last long. Alrighty, we are going to be jiggling around with the camera again, so if you're nauseous, close your eyes, I'll tell you when. The camera is steady. Because I want to pot this one up. I've left a few more roots than I normally would because obviously now I have a smaller piece. I don't need it to be all wobbly in the pot, and it is going to help me with the anchoring. And as per usual, let's fill her up. And because I was about to stop talking because of the gate. Oh, habits die hard. Because she has long roots, I'm already just going to put her in first of all, I'm going to spray her with hydrogen peroxide. I don't like all the white little bits there. I could see them coming out in that water, which we're going to toss. What a shame. It's a waste. I'm not a wasteful person by no means, but nope, nope, nope. I'm just going to get my hydrogen peroxide. Sorry. Again, if you hear buzzing, it may be because of the mic. That was Ciliano. Okay, that's odd. That's bothersome. I can't find my hydrogen peroxide. So, know that. Those little white bits I'm a little bit concerned about, but we're going to pot her up anyway. And when I find my hydrogen peroxide, I will be spraying the surface of the orchid, the media, everything. After the fizzing, I will flush everything out. But I'm not going to waste your time while I go in circles looking for my hydrogen peroxide. Que raro. All right, so what's going on now here is, today I've been spending quite a bit of time sorting out new Leca. Small, large, shards, and all that business. Now, this Leca was only sorted today. It has not had not even 5 hours of leaching time. After 3 hours, the ppm had risen to 174. Not bothered. If by now it has gone up to 300, I'm not bothered because it is a Lycaste. She's an active growth, and she is going to, whatever minerals are in there, she's not going to be worried about it. Meanwhile, no room for complacency because obviously I'm going to top the pot with long-term leached Leca, and then I'm going to watch if there's any mineral buildup through the wicking action of my old Leca. I would do this with a Catasetinae as well. I wouldn't mind using Leca that hasn't been leached long-term, okay? Just because these orchids are vigorous, robust, and they can really take a lot of fertilizer. So that's the only reason. Any other orchid, and I would be like, yeah, not happening. Okay, but I didn't want to go all ninja with my reserves on the small Leca that I have had leached for a long time in case I need it for something else. You see all the white floaty bits there? That could be some kind of a fungus. It could be anything. And the fact they're floating, at least I can work with it at the surface when I do find my hydrogen peroxide. Short-term memory loss. So she's going in the middle. Maybe we'll get another growth out of the other side. Maybe not. But at least when you pot up your Lycaste, if you're not in inorganic media, let's say your wet-dry cycle cultivation organic media, then just pot her up in a pot big enough for 2 years growth. Seeing as organic media in her case would be so much wetter for so much longer, with the exception of the deciduous type, then it's going to break down so much faster as well. Because again, we're talking about small kind of size bark, seedling to medium sized bark. Maybe if you don't have seedling sized bark, medium sized bark, add in that some sphagnum moss. And then you're talking wet, 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 which is a great band as well. But in this case, in our case, it very quickly leads to the degrading of the media. So keep that in mind. This pot, if she grows according to what I'm hoping, plus a little bit of light training, 3-4 years, that would be awesome. We don't have to worry about her anymore. And let's hope that we get 9 blooms, just like Julian did with his Lycaste. And of course, I'm not seeing the chat at all at the moment, so bear with me. If you've got questions, I'll get to you. It's not like we are inundated at this moment. I have as yet to figure out how to deal with a chat with there's 100 people and many people, many chatterers, to figure out how we're going to navigate that. Because you know what? That's the plan. One day to have lots and lots of people. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. So as with any repot, this is just going to be filling up bit by bit. And yes, I am mingy, as in a lot concerned about this. Okay, just because I'm in a nice warm climate, today I don't have a breeze, just because she can live outside, it doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about how much water I'm putting around down there. So we'll just protect her just a little bit. And this orchid is not the type that rises as her roots grow. So it's not just because the roots are slipper-like in their characteristics with the fuzziness, the furriness. I do want to get her up a little bit higher. I'll just give her a little bit of a squeeze. And then more Leca. I would be interested to know, without editing out that gate, how loud was that clanging? If you can answer that question, did you even hear it? I am so conscious of it. Sometimes I'm mid-sentence in a video and I can't edit it out. I was just wondering how that comes through. While, when I edit, I can reduce the background noise. That's something I can't do in a live stream. So that would be interesting if you could give me some feedback how loud that just was for you. Okie dokie, we got that. I think she's looking pretty good. Now, what I'm gonna do in this instance, because she is pretty wet at the base, I'm gonna remove the Leca. Sorry about that words are hard. Remove the Leca just so that there's more airflow down there. I kid you not when I say these growths are sensitive. And then tomorrow morning, I'm gonna fill back up around the base. I have a dry top layer. If you don't have a dry top layer, then I would suggest that you make sure that your growth is above the media. In my case, with my dry top layer, it's usually 2 fingers deep. I need to make sure that I cover that so that the roots find their way in straight away. They're not going to last very, very long in my dry climate if I don't ensure that they get into the media as a matter of utmost urgency. There's no messing around. Especially now that we've kind of divided her. Not intentionally, by no means. But it makes for a nicer presentation right bang smack in the middle of the pot. So I just flushed her through a little bit, and now at least we managed to conserve 1 bloom. That's a good thing. And we can observe how long she's going to last. Excuse me, how long she's going to last. This bloom has been open, I would like to say 4 weeks now. I'm going to have to check my records. I'm guesstimating 4 weeks, so we should get another 3 weeks, as per what Julian said. Maybe 8 weeks, unless the repot has affected her. So, because of the repot, because of new roots being imminent, she has had seaweed a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not putting seaweed in, but I've got about 300 parts, I know, huge, huh? 300 parts per million of calcium and magnesium now. She wasn't soaking. Did I put calcium, magnesium? It seems like such a long time ago. No, she was soaking in fertilized water, just to loosen her up. So now she can have a good glug of calcium and magnesium until the reservoir goes dry, like, she absorbs it, doesn't go bone dry, after which I will give her 2 flushes of plain water, and then I'll put fertilized water in her. And if you will please excuse me, I'm going to clean up the mess, and I'm going to move her into a location in my little breezeway over here to the left, which you can't see, just because of that growth. Because I'm not happy about having had 2 pieces come out of her. Not happy at all. What we can do, maybe not. Do we have anything here? Something cute? No, that's not cute, but it'll do for now. My bloom. We're going to get rid of all this, clean up a little bit, make it a little bit more presentable, and I'm going to bring out another orchid. And that was leaves, that wasn't static, and I hope it wasn't irritating, sorry. I'm going to bring out another orchid, and then we can have a little chit-chat, if you are so inclined. Because all this normally happens behind the scenes. You don't see any of this when I'm filming. But here we are. Janina, I saw your email. I'm sorry I haven't responded yet. So if you like, we can discuss it now. I'm also going to do a video on it because I think it's a great question about the microfiber. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out video like the lava rock and semi-hydro. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if that was helpful, but that was kind of long and drawn out. Your other question about the microfiber isn't that long and drawn out. Oh my goodness. Look, I'm 6 foot, okay? So I have pretty big hands. This is just, I can't. I could take that little net off there. But also, if it's a gift, why would you do that? I don't know. Who cares? Who cares? Anyway, let me get the other one. Let me get the other orchid, and let's have a little sit down and a chin wag. Chinny waggy. Here we are in the blooming alley. Oh, she smells so good. She smells so good. How about that? Hey? Oh, I know. Only one spike, but a spike nonetheless. I have become less and less picky about bloom performance with my orchids. The fact that they do bloom, I'm just so happy about it. And give me one bloom. I'll be like, okay. I'd be disappointed because I know why. I can't change that, but when you come out with 1 spike instead of 2, and you give me 6 blooms, that's a better blooming than I've had. Last year she didn't do so well. She only gave me 3 blooms, but now, here we are. How can I make this a little bit more presentable for you guys without making it look like we're in the middle of a hardware store? Hang on a second. Something like that. Move that. Bring you in here. There. Bring you in. Is she even in focus? No, but never mind. We'll put her here so that if anybody that I don't know is watching my videos will know I got her. Right. Let's have a little bit of a chin wag and get my buckets out of the way so that I can actually get through without tripping. Because that would make a great short, wouldn't it? Get my notes in case I've missed anything, and in case there are any more questions of it. King, just a second. Come around here. Notes. Note to self. Do not use ink that when it gets water on it does this. I lost a whole pile of notes. I think it was 2 years ago because I left my notebook outside and I lost everything. All the ideas from months and months and notes of the ideas and the breakdowns of videos, all gone. You can tell I haven't learned. Hey, Michael. All right. Carmen is in the house. Hey, it's good to see you. You didn't get notifications. Okay, I'm sorry. Did you, okay, here's the thing. Did you even get a notification when I scheduled the live stream yesterday? That's the question. Okay, we're back. You got some more questions. That's great, Carmen. And then we've got, going to vacation in the Philippines. I'm planning to buy vandas there, which are very cheap, and bring it back to Okay. Everybody's answered that. Yes, be super careful, especially Philippines, or in any country. But those Asian countries are super protective, and you don't have to be a drug dealer to go to jail. A ver. Julian's got it all covered. That's awesome. $100 is not too bad for 50 plants. You got it. I see you, Janina. Yep. I think you've mentioned that in a comment. I'm glad that's working for you. Okay, so the gate wasn't too loud. Thank you. You didn't notice it. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. That was a lucky break, Michael. That was a lucky break, because if she had been searched, there could have been problems. She didn't go through, customs didn't stop her. So got a lucky break there. King brought me my orchids. That's right. I see you, Carmen, just one moment. That's right. I'm grateful. With all the things that can go wrong when an orchid comes into bloom, I am telling you, oh boy, when you then do get a bloom, no, King, déjalo. You have covered all your bases to get to blooms. That's awesome. Alrighty. Those shelves, yes, they are at IKEA. They are also on Amazon. Now, here's the thing. They are awesome. I love them. I would love to have another one for my Phalaenopsis complex hybrids, but I can't protect them shade-wise out here without freaking out that a curtain is going to do something and all of a sudden they're like, no, exposed to the scorching sun. But all of mine were bought at the same time. Some, like this one here that you see, that is always outside because it's here on the east side and then it goes to the west side in the winter. It is not rusty. Neither is the one under the portico. But my staging shelf, same brand, same everything, that one's also outside all the time, and it's gotten all rusty, which is a shame, and I can't figure out why. The same with the two little ones in the blooming alley, they rusted out. So I don't know if the smaller ones have a different quality from the bigger ones, but they're the same brand. I don't know, just be aware. But if you're growing inside, you don't have to worry about it. They're awesome. You got your notification, King, arrête. You got your notification yesterday. All right. When you get your notification when I set a live stream, the first notification, if you tap on that notification, it'll come up like it's a video, but then you will see on the bottom right corner another bell and a little tiny icon that says notify me. You hit that, and then you should be able to set it and forget it, walk away, and then 30 minutes before a live starts, you will get the notification that the live is going to start in 30 minutes. Then, blimey, you get another notification that the live has gone live. Crazy. So every time you see a live has been set, click the thumbnail, hit notify me, and then you should be getting notifications after that. Okay, the little ones were 35 euros. The one that I use for my Rapiculus Lalias were 35 euros. The staging area one where I do filming, that's Rusty, it was 45 euros. The big one in the back here, back in the day in 2018, I believe it was, 75 euros. And I got mine at a hardware store called Leroy Merlin. And if I couldn't transport it, they did home delivery. The smaller ones I brought home and set them up here. So 35, 45, and then 75. Now, I only have 2 shelves on all the other ones that I have. Okay, the smaller ones only come with 2 shelves, the top and then the middle that you can adjust whatever height you want. The bigger ones, as you can see, have 4 shelves. Well, 4. You see 3 now, but I use the top one as well. Omar, interesting. And if you're like Julian, only the second 15 minutes after the live started. That's crazy. And I used your handle in the title. That is nuts. Okay, so let's talk about this deciduous, non-deciduous evergreens. Non-deciduous evergreens. That is just, forget. Sorry. Forget I even said that. Let's talk about the deciduous Lycaste and the evergreen Lycaste, because you get 2, then you get hybrids and all that. So if you have a hybrid, check the parents. Maybe you have 2 evergreens, maybe you have 2 deciduous parents, maybe you have a mix of one of each. If you have a mix of one of each, until she has settled in, until the orchid is acclimated, whatever it is, whether she's got leaves, when she has leaves, of course, treat as if it's an evergreen, because then you are also covering your bases. For example, if she were a deciduous one, because fertilizing and everything, pretty much the same. You don't want to starve an evergreen Lycaste while during the phase that she has completed her new growth to the phase of when, she is starting a new growth again. So your safe bet with a hybrid, if you don't know which one of the 2 you have, treat as an evergreen, watch and observe, because the characteristics of the parents can be inherited and your Lycaste may never ever go dormant. Doesn't mean it's a continuous grower. After a new growth on any Lycaste, deciduous or evergreen, after a new growth is complete, that is pretty much then its phase to gear up, either go into dormancy or, wait until the bloom comes. Because of course the evergreen Lycastes, they will bloom with all the beautiful leaves on them. And believe me, they get huge. So my Phylogeny Pandarata comes to mind when it comes to the size of a Lycaste. And if that stays evergreen, I would be in trouble. So out of a stupid mistake from the nursery, the positive side is I have a deciduous Lycaste, and it takes forever for them to lose their leaves. By the time it is time to bring the orchid inside, she is just finishing maturing the growths. So then it takes another 2 or 3 months before the first leaf starts to go downhill. And only all the way into, let's say, late winter, early spring, are all the leaves gone. I could force the leaves off, but hey, I've got such low light levels, every leaf is helpful. The only thing is, I don't put her in a prime light situation that she could tolerate. She is in deep shade as opposed to bright shade. Okay, so the light requirements for both, let's say, as a par, deciduous Lycastes can take more light, but never direct sun. Don't do the Fias thing when you look at my patio. If I go to my Fias, it's always a great example. Okay? Fias leaves, Lycaste leaves. Do not do the direct sun with Lycaste leaves ever, no matter where you are, because sometimes we also get the magnifying glass effect and the leaves will burn, even if you think you're in the north of the hemisphere or way south in the hemisphere. Don't do that. Bright shade, And the evergreen Lycastes can actually tolerate less light than the deciduous Lycastes can, all right? Just to keep that in mind. But you don't have to, if you have a collection or you're planning to get a Lycaste or you don't know about your light levels, just keep it across the board bright shade. So don't be confused if you see online people talking about light levels on Lycastes being deciduous or evergreen. It doesn't matter, just stay on the safe side. You're going to get blooms regardless if you keep them in the bright shade. Just because deciduous Lycaste can take more sun, qualify that, more light, doesn't mean that your evergreen can't handle it either, as long as you keep them bright and protected. So yours came leafless. Okay, let me just say one thing there, Julian son. Let me say one thing. If yours came leafless, how long ago? Is it a new one? Question. Has it gone dormant in your care? Have you had it a full season and it's gone dormant? All right. Happy walkies. Thank you for being here, Carmen. I hope that we're here when you get back. Because if yours is with leafless bulbs, I have seen some people force a Lycaste into dormancy and they rip their leaves off before, and I say rip because literally that's what they do. They just grab the bulbs from the top and go and just rip the leaves off, and then boom, she's bulbless. Now, that's why I'm asking this question, because for shipping, people will do that as well. It's much cheaper to ship bulbs as opposed to a leafed out Lycaste. So there's my question. It came in flowers and buds. Okay, so it's not been with you for a full season yet? Question? You've had it maybe 3-4 months? Or just recent acquisition? Because even an evergreen, the base of the leaf was already dried out. The base of the leaf was already dried out. It came in flowers and buds February this year, okay, and the base of the leaf was already dried out. The base of the new growth that it possibly came in that you mentioned last week? Okay, here's the thing. For the purposes of shipping, and do you have a name for it? Because if it's like mine and no ID, then over time it'll tell you what it is. But if you have a name for it, you can Google whether yours is evergreen or dormant. Sorry, evergreen or deciduous. Sorry. The remnant of the leaves on the old pseudobulbs. Gotcha. Gotcha. Thai punch. Okay, that's a hybrid. Right, so here's the thing, okay? For shipping, as I mentioned, they will tear leaves off to make it an easier and cheaper shipping process instead of sending your Lycaste in a big box, okay? It could be that yours is evergreen, could be the parents are both evergreen, could be the parents are either one, and you're going to learn how your Lycaste behaves in the coming 12 to 14 months. Let's just say that. So at least now you know, panic not if your leaves start to go funny around end of November, December, and it takes a long time for the leaves to drop. My wingman, Robert, hey, it's good to see you. It's so nice of you to flutter by. Thank you so much. Hope you're okay. So I'm seeing nothing from Julian. Maybe he's Googling Thai punch parentage. Okay. I have the examples from the American Orchid Society webpage that says the aromatica, Lycaste aromatica, is deciduous. And then you've got Lycaste skinneri, which is evergreen. Good to hear that, Robert. Thanks for hopping in. I appreciate it. Okay, so those were the two that I picked out for the notes that kind of gave me an idea of what to look for. But basically, one can freak you out if you don't know what you're dealing with, and the other, it just stays green, and you wouldn't think that there was a Lycaste that was deciduous. But yeah, when it comes to, we've done the light, then we've done the temperature. Okay, let's talk. Go into a little bit more detail with the temperatures, because the deciduous Lycastes, as in my case, can be outside all the way down to 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit. But they're also much more tolerant of heat. So they can handle up to 35 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit. However, if it's an evergreen Lycaste, the temperatures should always be consistent and never hot, okay? So if I remember, I will link the AOS webpage Lycaste in the description if I forget. And if you're not sure with what I've just said, go there as a reference, because back in the day, that was my reference to when I updated my notes for my app. Okay? So the evergreen is a little bit more, let's say, you got to approach with caution when it comes to light and temperatures. They should never go out. They should never be as low temperature as the deciduous ones. They should be more steady around 15 degrees Celsius, 16 degrees Fahrenheit. And the day temperatures should be no higher ever, best practice, than 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 26 degrees Celsius. Now, with a channel comes responsibility. So when I say no higher, I really, really mean it. If that had been my article where I pulled this from, I double checked today, the article still is the way it is as when I pulled the notes back in 2018. If I hadn't read that article, I would have said no higher than 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 degrees Celsius, because sometimes people say, well, 75, it doesn't matter if it goes to 80. And if I give you the upper end of the spectrum, some people will say, well, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, it's okay, it'll be fine at 83, 84. No, 80 is not advisable. It can happen. It should not happen often, let's just say. So the evergreens, they have their little quirks. The deciduous ones, not so much. Happy Mother's Day to you too. Yes, I mentioned that earlier, Anna. Lycastes are fires-like, with the exception of the fact the leaves are very similar, but with the exception of the fact that a Fias should not drop its leaves. So mine is a terrible example on the patio. A Fias grows into big, beautiful, lush clumps, and like a Cymbidium, every once in a while a bulb will age and lose the leaves. You would think that my Fias belonged into a deciduous category. That is not good culture, okay? So when we take leaf structure into consideration, we can then say, yes, same leaves, same kind of texture of leaves. And you said second attempt, so Google is erasing comments in the chat as well. That sucks. Arlene Rose Renders, I am well here on the patio, outdoors, chatting to you. So good to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. So good of you to come by. Happy Mother's Day to you too. So I've done a lot of jibber jabber, and I'm wondering if there's any more. Look what I got, Aline. I don't know when you came in, but let me see if I can show you. This was on my doorstep when I came back from walking the dogs this morning. Checking it out. Isn't she a cutie? Look, with the pretty leaves too. She's got such cute leaves, and she is fragrant. That's why the little sachet is up there, because she's fragrant. So I don't know who this came from, but that's why she's out on the patio, because I was going to do a community post, completely ran out of time. I may still do one at a later stage, but yeah, it's like, hello, this tiny little thing there. Janina Carlona says, I have a Lycaste Dowiana. First time it lost leaves, it freaked me out. Stays green until the new growths start coming in. I can imagine. First time. Any orchid just dumps its leaves. It's like, hello, if you're not very, very familiar. But like I said, I didn't know what had arrived. So many orchids have bulbs like that. It could have been an odontoglossum that just came as a bulb because the nursery doesn't know what they're doing. So I was not aware of what I had bought until she started to leaf out. And it was the orchid room that also said, that looks like a Lycaste to me. Michael McCarthy said, that looks like a Lycaste to me. She still hadn't leafed out. When she started to leaf out, I thought, yeah, they're right. Question is, which one is it? I do think they're very, very pretty, but yeah, I'm not going to get any more. I mean, when you see the ones that bloom and gush over with 10 different blooms, oh, I mean, it is a beautiful sight, but especially the evergreens, that would freak me out because, yeah, no, there's no space in the inn. Sorry, I just had to take a sip of my drink. Alrighty. Question, any more questions? Because if not, then that was the chair again, okay? Make no mistake. If there aren't any more questions, I'm just going to say thank you so, so much for being here, for joining me on this Sunday afternoon here in southern Spain, as opposed to wherever you are in the world. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day is what I would like to say. Just making sure that I don't miss anybody. And if I do, once the live shuts down, I am going to at least be able to chat for a little bit. Really appreciate having you here. Let me see. 14 likes. That's awesome. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate that. Michael, thank you for being here so, so much. Loved your little puppies pic there. Where did I see your puppy pic? One of your puppy pics. Was it on Instagram? I'm not entirely sure. Meanwhile, I linked your Instagram in the description of Ninjiraffe. Yes, cute. And Araita, thank you as well for being here. Have yourself, all of you, a fabulous rest of your day. On that one condition, though, please, that you stay safe. Take care. Bye.